Hello, fellow bookish people. I come to you today with, it's Jay. Hi. I come to you with a video response video, a response to Jenn over at Remembered Reads. She's just done a video about chatting about book recommendations, or how do you plan your book recommendations. Those are the, go with the thumbnail, go with the title. But I think that gives you a general kind of thing of sort of thing of how do you recommend books if you do, and have you gotten good recommendations by asking people, and like how many follow-up questions do you ask? And I thought this was maybe just a fun thing to have a quick I say that quick video on just like book recommendations. So like this to me kind of gets to the heart of, so she was talking about more about Twitter questions, but I abstain from Twitter, but just about BookTube, of like, isn't this why we come to BookTube? It's to get book recommendations. And I don't know if I do. I don't know if I come here to give recommendations or to get them. I don't think I've ever asked someone. I've always had there's always been enough bookish stuff around that I've been able to just generally absorb, that I've never actually, I think, asked people for book recommendations, other than maybe, sometimes I think, especially when I was younger, looking at those like top 10 lists of top 10 butterfly flyby of sorry, completely distracted. Ooh, pretty thing. Of top 10 lists. You're kind of looking at those for like, oh, here's the books that keep on coming up on top 10 lists of the greatest, literature or fantasy or science fiction. Those being some of my general interests. Yeah, because like, I don't think I for the most part, I don't recommend books. I think when I was younger, I would have books that like, wow, I love this book, and I would try and press it on people, which I now find is the most obnoxious thing in the world. And it was for some books that I would actually want to read now that I was pressing up on them, which makes it all the more embarrassing, I think. So I'm not a person who gives out recommendations. I'm a person who talks about books. I love to talk about books, and I think Jenn makes a good point in her video of talking about how when a friend of hers was kind of saying, oh, here's my favorite book, that she didn't mention like, oh, well, what was it about the book that she admired? And it turned out it was something about tone. And it's like, oftentimes, like, it's like, what do you read a book for can make a big difference of if you're going to love a book. If you're looking at a book like, oh, it's got to have a great story, well, then you're not going to care if it's got like kind of very workmanlike or clunky writing, as long as the story's great. And vice versa, you might be like, I want something like with beautiful language, or the tone, the tone and style might be important to you, or something like, I think for myself, probably a lot of times character can be a big important component, though there are some books that like there's a tone thing as well. I would say that they have that can really appeal to me. So I think if I think about myself on BookTube, something that I would want to improve in how I talk about books is to try and consciously not just say, oh, I love the characters in this book, it's an awesome book, but to sort of take that one step back and go, I love the characters in this book. However, the writing is like, maybe the writing is kind of very workmanlike, or try and give a fuller picture of the books that I'm reading. Probably just better for myself as a reader, but also making it more useful for people who are watching my videos. And even then, I always have that thing of like, like, I really loved a book, and then someone watches a video and says, wow, that sounds like a great book, I'm going to pick it up. And I always go, oh crap, what if they don't like it? They're going to come back and yell at me. Which I know that has never happened to me with one of my viewers. They might be thinking it's like, thanks for that recommendation on, I don't know, Freshwater or something like that, but that was not my cup of tea or something like that, which I've Jason, Old Blues Chapter and Verse, he did not enjoy Freshwater for various reasons. Well, I did, and we're still friends. And he is actually somebody who, I don't know if I wouldn't call his stuff recommendations, but he's just talked about books. And this is why I guess I come to BookTube, is like I've people will talk about books, and it's not so much that they're recommending it, but it's sort of like I get that like twinge of like, oh, that sounds interesting to me, and it's not someone saying you must read this book. It's they've maybe even just said like a few words about a book, but something about that has like gone, I will try that. And that Jason is somebody who, Sigrid Unset, Kristin Lavransdatter, that really worked for me. Sarah Waters, that an author that I'm now really enjoying. But I've had other books that I've picked up from booktubers that I have not enjoyed, and I don't. Yeah, no, it's not one of those things like, oh, I want to go back and yell at those poor booktubers. It's just like, no, okay, our tastes didn't line up there, and I've learned something that there's certain things that are triggers for me that they didn't particularly go with them, and there's no hard feelings on that. I think it's all about kind of opportunities for exploration, and some of those explorations you'll find out, okay, I can cross that one off my list. I'm not going to read any more of that particular author or something like that. But I think with BookTube, a lot of times I take a very passive viewpoint. It's not like I'm here with my notebook writing down stuff. I'll just be like, oh, that book, it came up, and then it came up over here, and it came up over here, and it's like, oh, that sounds like something. And actually, it's funny because within Jenn's video, she mentions the book that she and her friend swapped favorite books, and she foolishly lent her actual copy to her friend and is yet to get it back, of Birdie by Tracey Lindberg. And Birdie is one of those novels that I've been hearing about, and it's depressing and non-linear, so that sounds awesome. And that's also good to know going into a book is little key phrases like that, so okay, this is going to be good and depressing, and it's going to be non-linear, so I can just kind of relax on the whole. Everything's going to go A, B, C, D. It's going to be F, Z, L, Y, or whatever like that. But that's how I pick up the books that I'm going to read, is just sort of, I'm a very passive, like, I'll just let it wash over me. That's why I've come to BookTube, is so I can just have that torrent of books. There's the hose over here, which is BookTube, and then there's this other even larger hose over here, which is Steve Donoghue, that's just blasting at you at full speed, day after day, relentless. Oh my God. So yeah, you have that, and I'm 99.9999% of it I just let flow by, and I just click out one or two things here, and that gives me so much reading, and so much pleasure, and sometimes so much, I'm pissed off or depressed or indifference. But yeah, if I'm going to take anything from it, it's going to be in my own talking about books, is to try and give a fuller picture. That said, I'll probably get over enthusiastic and just enthuse about the little things that really capture me, and that's probably what most people will take away from most of my blathering. And I think as you get to know me, you'll know that. And I mean, that's the other good thing is that you get to know the people who are talking about books. It's these disembodied voices, these disembodied experts, is the one thing that I think BookTube definitely kind of battles against. This is where, okay, you're going to get to know me. You know all of my goofy imperfections and my biases, and what things really like, oh, that's awesome, I really love that sort of stuff. And so you can it helps you develop your own judgments about what I am saying about the books I'm reading, as much as all my trying to organize my thoughts, trying. But yeah, so that's my reaction to Jenn's video. I will put a link to it down below. Definitely check her out. She is very awesome booktuber, and someone who knows, maybe you'll want to read Birdie too, or maybe you'll go, oh, depressing and non-linear. Okay, now I know something about her. I'll move away from that, as much as Jay, super enthusiastic about 14th century historical novels about religious Norwegian women. You'll be able to kind of sift through the pile, which is all you can ever do. All you can ever do in in the gigantic library of our world, of our universe. All right, more videos later.